The information contained in this video is strictly for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial, legal, or other professional advice and is not a substitute for consultation with a qualified professional. The opinions expressed in the show do not necessarily reflect the views of the Center for Continuing Education and Workforce Development, Borough of Manhattan Community College, and the City University of New York. State of Mind is a web-based discussion program that explores the relevant social, economic, and political issues that are prominent at the post-secondary level of education. State of Mind is sponsored by the Center for Continuing Education and Workforce Development at the Borough of Manhattan Community College. BMCC. Start here, go anywhere. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Krishna C. Nadella, and this is State of Mind. We're taping from the Leadership Fellows Program at Borough of Manhattan Community College. The goal of the Leadership Fellows Program is to prepare prospective leaders to assume senior management positions. This year's program will focus on leading from the middle and the role which participants play in ensuring the success of the college and that of the people they supervise. With that said, we're kicking off a three-part series covering the future of community college education. The growing importance of community colleges will require future leaders to think globally and to formulate innovative solutions to problems. The development and availability of well-prepared leaders capable of responding to these emerging trends is vital to the continued success of BMCC and its students. Within the next decade, BMCC will need to cultivate, develop, and empower the next generation of leaders for success in this ever-changing environment. Back with us to provide their very unique perspectives on the topic are the following guests: Dr. Bioteau from Florida State College at Jacksonville, Dr. Antonio Pérez from Borough of Manhattan Community College, and Dr. Joe May from Dallas County Community College District. Dr. Bioteau, Dr. Pérez, Dr. May, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you. Now, we are here at the Leadership Fellows Program here at BMCC, and as such, we have some questions from our fellows I'd like to ask at this point in time. Our first question comes from Robert Cortez. His question is as follows: please explain what you think are the most pressing issues and challenges being faced by community colleges today, and what you think the future looks like 5 years from now. As future higher education leaders, what are the most important qualities one should possess to address these challenges? Dr. Bioteau?
I hope we've touched on some of those comments in our answers to the previous questions. But I will tell you, as we look at leaders of tomorrow and we look at our institutions of higher education, we need leaders with courage, with intelligence, with emotional intelligence, not just competencies by way of IQ. Just as important, if not more important, is the emotional intelligence, that you need to be able to understand and pull yourself out of the situation and understand it's not about you personally, it's about the issue at hand. You need to be able to self-reflect. You need to be able to problem solve and to have enough self-confidence that you surround yourself with people smarter than you in many different instances. And you need to be able to be a communicator and have very strong interpersonal skills. I don't think the leader of the future can be an introvert, quite frankly, because either through technology or through human interaction, you must be able to like people, engage with people, and use people to help solve the problems. Because the problems today are ones that we are gathering solutions for. We haven't even imagined the problems of 5 years from now. And so that kind of flexibility and creativity, courage and creativeness will serve us well.
Dr. Pérez, talk to me about surrounding yourself with people who are better than you.
Well, case in point. I'm sorry.
And I do appreciate my colleagues. It's really important. I believe that the ability of an individual to learn is based upon the ability to associate with individuals that will provide and allow them to reflect. And I believe that hopefully when our students enter into a classroom and they find themselves with faculty that are engaging, that bring out the best not only in them but in their colleagues, that particular environment is the best learning environment. So that for me, I believe that in hiring the very best faculty does the same thing in regards to how our faculty grow. So that it happens within the classroom, but it also happens within the context of an institution. And it provides the lifeline for individuals to grow and flourish. And you need an institution that has that kind of vitality to be able to respond to this new and challenging world. And I just find that it's really it's a moving target right now. Higher education is not a stable institution where you can have all the answers and say, well, this is how we're going to progress. You need to be able to be very nimble and flexible and adapt to the changes that are coming forward.
Dr. May, is it hard to plan from a 5-year perspective in this day and age? Is it more a year-to-year basis now?
You know, really, for me, I have to tell you, we all do our 5-year plans. For the most part, we also all know that really doesn't have a lot of relevance as we look at the future. You know, somebody asked me, what have you learned from some of your past experiences that you can apply today? And I said, well, nothing really to apply directly, because we live in such a different world and a different operation. I think that, you know, the old models of that we put in place that were really about redundancy, trying to reinforce areas in ways where today we really have to be resilient. Mm-hmm. And we have to take each new issue as an opportunity to solve the problem. And it really gets back at kind of tying all of it together about people and about leadership, is that first we have to have people that can listen and understand the problem of others. Talk about emotional intelligence, you know, kind of key on that is that, but that really is seeing the world from the other person's point of view and owning that, so that I can understand the problems that they're facing. So as we look at, I guess the ability of our college to respond, it's what's happening now. How do we use our resources in a way that solves those problems, and are we willing to say, you know what we've done hasn't worked, and let's take a look at it and move forward. Still keeping an eye that we want to educate the population. That aspect of our plan and goal won't change, but how we get there, the why is steady. What and how can change every day in order to better meet the needs of individuals or employers.
Our second question is from Ruru Russman. Her question is as follows. At last week's CUNY IT conference, Gardner Campbell of Virginia Commonwealth University spoke about the attractiveness, from a marketing standpoint, of focused nano degrees in areas like social media management or app development versus an expensive, unfocused liberal education that inducts students into a system of knowledge which presumably gives students the critical thinking basis and intellectual flexibility to successfully respond when employment or other needs change. Dr. Pérez, how do you see the community college fitting between these two poles when it comes to preparing students for a future which will undoubtedly be characterized by rapid change?
That's a great question, Ruru. It's interesting because obviously we want our students to be nimble, yep, and we want them to be flexible, and we want them to be ready to be employed. But also we want them to be well-rounded. Mm-hmm. And I guess that distinguishes us from being a trade school, that we are concerned about the whole individual and how the experience will impact them, so that it's finding that balance of giving them the necessary skills, but still giving them the opportunity to experience more than just what they are intending to work with. I look back at my own experience, and I wanted to be a teacher, and that was great, but I found that the rigor in a classroom and the regimentation was something that I really didn't care for, so I decided to be an administrator because I had more flexibility. I could walk around more. So that it's a delicate balance, but I believe that if we are educational institutions, that we respond to a particular need and we provide them with a skill set to respond to any, but I believe that there's a whole person that we have a responsibility to.
Excellent. Dr. Bioteau, is it tough to create curriculum to keep up with the changing times?
It's creative, but I would like to just say to this question, so many times we look at issues and challenges as having solutions of either or. And I would suggest to you, we need both critical thinking and liberal arts engagement along with specialized, unique skill set training. Because quite frankly, we've been talking our entire time about anticipating the future and yet not knowing what it will look like given everything around us and given the intergenerational engagement with the future. When we can get the conversation towards how do we provide both in segments that are accessible and accountable, I think that's when we move the question forward towards where we need it to be.
All right. Dr. May, any thoughts?
You know, increasingly we're seeing students come in and out of the classroom. And we've always talked about lifelong learning, but today it's real. I've started asking questions of individuals I encounter in the doctor's office or elsewhere. You know, where did you get your education? And quite often they were at our institution. But I've started asking a different one. Tell me about additional certifications or credentials that you've earned. And I've been amazed at the number of credentials individuals are earning today, as whether it be nano degrees, which is getting a lot of popularity right now if you look at some of what companies are doing, to short-term training and our opportunities, so that I'm talking to people with master's degrees that are still getting and circling back in and getting education. I'm sure that here, not different than our institutions, in many of our programs or classes or sessions that we offer, sometimes half or more of the students will have advanced degrees sitting in those classes, back with us to get those skills. So it really isn't either or. We have a responsibility to take the individual where they are, what they need today, meet that need, but also understanding that we're going to be working with them in the long run.
Excellent. Our next question is from Antoinette McCain. The Obama administration has emphasized the need for higher education to address the issue of low graduation rate and the extended amount of time it takes to graduate. What are some of the best practices that have impressed you the most, and have you had success implementing these reforms on your own home campus? Dr. May, let's start with you.
The best way to address many of these is to understand the challenges that our students face. We find financial concerns are right at the top. Child care concerns for many of our students. The ability to balance job and work. Transportation. So we've increasingly looked at what we can do to support and better meet those needs through screening students up front in terms of their eligibility for things like food stamps, if that's an option. Helping them with taxes so that they can be eligible for Pell Grants and other Title IV loans. Pointing them toward transportation or child care alternatives that are out there. And realizing that it's not just the academic barriers. In fact, we find for many of our students, that's actually pretty far down on the list. They have the ability. They can be successful. We just have to help them deal with other aspects of life that's getting in the way.
Excellent. Dr. Pérez?
Well, we have to make sure that we know why our students are coming to us. And not every student is coming with the intent that they want to go full-time and complete it in a certain time frame. So that the aspect of accessibility and scheduling may be a deterrent based upon what employment our students have. So while I am concerned about that, I'm equally aware of the fact that not every student comes to our institution with an intent of completing within a certain time frame. But this is something that they want to pursue, but it's only for a period of time, and they've had their own schedule. But really removing obstacles is important. So we've created a number of programs to remove some of those obstacles. For example, if it's financial aspects, then we try to provide certain types of scholarships. If it's course scheduling, to make sure that that particular cohort can go through a particular process. So we're looking constantly at creating new programs that respond to the needs of certain types of students. And it's really trying to dissect the student body and finding out what is it that serves as a barrier or block to your success, and then we try to remove some of those barriers. And some of the aspects of financial aid are some that we raise money for in order to give that student the opportunity to complete that degree with a certain time frame. But we have to accept the fact that our missions are different as it relates to community colleges, and that students come to us for different reasons that they may come to go to a four-year institution. And it might be that they're not in that rush, that they have certain things that they're doing or their employment or families that are part of that plan.
Dr. Bioteau, how does this topic affect, from an administration standpoint, how you plan from a year-to-year basis with all these different permutations of these different student types? How do you account for that?
I think we've always had different student types, and that's part of the trademark and cornerstones of a community college. I think as we look at graduation, though, I really believe we must broaden that term to be more completion. As my two colleagues have talked about, people come to a community college for different goals and different reasons, yet they all have a goal and they want to complete. And so when we start looking at how we define and track and hold accountable completions, I think we broaden the whole aspect of why we are pertinent and relevant today. I also think that our students come to us, in most cases, to get a job at the end. And so it becomes inherent upon us to work more closely with employers to help the employers understand that they have some skin in the game as well. And so that it's not just students paying tuition or institutions getting scholarships, it's to our employers, how will you work hand in hand with us? And I'd love to give a wonderful example that we have at Florida State College at Jacksonville, where we work very closely with our public education partner and work very closely with Vistacon, which is a subsidiary of Johnson & Johnson, advanced manufacturing. They need a pipeline of technicians and engineers for advanced manufacturing. And so we have a career academy called the Vistacon Academy, which that company has helped not only provide equipment for, but through dual enrollment, students begin in this career academy in 9th and 10th grade in high school, in key high schools, and they complete a lot of their high school expectations in the 9th and 10th, and then 11th and 12th, they begin dual enrollment. And so they are FSCJ students along with Duval County school students. In between their junior and senior year, Vistacon gives paid internships. Vistacon, the company, gets to see who might be the employees they would like. At the end of May of a senior year, a student in this career academy graduates with a high school diploma, an associate's degree in advanced manufacturing, work experience in Vistacon, and the ability to go on for a baccalaureate at FSCJ in supervision and management, or go right into the workplace at Vistacon. That, I believe, is the model of the future, that as we start looking at barriers and access and completion, we bring all of the partners to the table, and everyone has a responsibility in each entity.
That's a great real-life example. Thank you. Our next question is from Christina Lev. Block programs that provide supplemental support have shown promising results in promoting higher retention rates in the first year of study. However, among second-year students, studies have shown that there is a dramatic decline in retention. Describe some of the practices undertaken at your respective institutions to address the needs of the second-year student. Dr. Bioteau, why don't we continue with you?
That is a great question, and I'm going to have to just answer in generalities, if you don't mind. And I say that because we are so focused on getting students through the first 6 weeks, because we know by research, if you get them through the first 6 weeks, you're going to get them through the first semester. If you get them through the first semester, you'll get them through the second semester. And then we assume you get them through that first year, and they're just going to fly. And we know, based on your question, that that doesn't always happen. I do believe we all have the responsibility to look further in those kinds of areas of need. Having said that, we also know there's great success in cohort learning and learning communities and the kind of, not necessarily block scheduling, but the kind of engagement of students. If you can engage a student in the college experience with not only each other as learners, but feeling engaged with the institution, you know you will more than likely keep them going. That's notwithstanding life situations that get in the way, but an area I think we all need to spend more time and research and analysis towards.
So I'd like to actually talk about the other side, because that second year does lead to eventually graduation. Our last question is from Nadine Brown. Community colleges historically prepared students for entering specific industries and jobs that would afford individuals the ability to earn sustainable wages. However, there has been a shift, and positions that once required an associate's degree now require higher levels of education, something we spoke about. In your research, what industries and/or jobs do you believe community colleges, specifically those in urban cities like New York, should begin developing and/or should focus on strengthening to answer the future needs of the urban job market? Dr. Pérez, why don't we start with you?
Thanks. I wish you'd told me to ask that question. It's interesting because I realize that, for example, and when it comes to healthcare, we've been challenged by accrediting agencies that have an expectation that our students complete a baccalaureate degree as a certification that they now can continue to practice nursing. I feel that when we look at, for example, areas of advertising and marketing, and there are other areas that are evolving as it relates to the internet that may not be that case specific. I just feel that we have been affected by accreditation and certifications that have been promulgated by four-year institutions that want to make sure that these students finish in their programs. But I just think that we need to look at new areas and new fields. The whole field of advertising and marketing is one. I think that we need to be more nimble and more flexible in casting a net at what the prospective jobs would be that would fall into that category. I think that the whole world of, as I mentioned, advertising and marketing has changed significantly. But it's difficult when others control our future and dictate where our students can and cannot go. But the whole medical field is one that we've seen that happen because the jobs have dwindled, and now the four-year institutions are looking to expand their enrollments. But that's a good question.
So as we wrap up our discussion, and remembering what our topic is, the future of community college education, I'd like to start with each and one of you as a parting thought. Dr. Bioteau, what is your thoughts on the future of community college education very quickly?
In terms of leadership or community college education?
Community college education.
Community college education is relevant today, and it will be even more so tomorrow. However, it will be relevant based on our ability to morph, to evolve, and to respond to the needs as we see. If I might just work off of Dr. Pérez's comment of the last question, when you look at health informatics, when you look at logistics and supply chain management, there are new industries and new needs happening every single day, and it behooves all of us to make sure that we're looking at how can community colleges respond to that need for the skilled workforce of today and of tomorrow.
Excellent. Dr. May?
You know, as look to the future of community colleges, we're clearly going to be more important than ever before. You know, as recently as 1970, 75% of middle-class jobs required no education beyond high school. You could get a great job with a high school diploma. Today, only about 30 to 35% of jobs are available with no education beyond high school. So our role is going to continue to be, I think, central to meeting the needs of individuals and employers. But that's also mean it's incumbent upon leadership to understand those communities, to understand the needs of employers. And kind of the question about we're seeing areas that required an associate degree years ago now require a bachelor's. We're seeing the same thing with the high school side. That's going to be a constant evolution. And our goal is to be in there engaging in those discussions, to make sure that our programs are relevant to the need regardless of what's happening in the economy and regardless of what the needs are of individuals.
Excellent. And finally, Dr. Pérez?
Well, I believe that higher education is going to change dramatically in the next 20 or 30 years. The roles have been reversed and are going to continue to reverse themselves. A two-year education is going to be looked at differently at community college than it has been historically. The demands on our society and the demands on institutions to provide a nimble workforce of individuals that are bright and can make decisions is going to fall right into our hands. I believe that this expectation that you need a four-year degree to perform certain functions will no longer be the case 20, 30 years from now. I believe that a two-year degree and experience is going to be sufficient. The whole technology is changing how we perceive employees, and employers are beginning to see that. And they're going to dictate to us what are the skills that they want. Right. So that I believe that education in the next 15, 20, 30 years will be very different. And as we see it now, the reversal of the focus on a 4-year college education, and now how the spotlight is on community colleges, and that light is only going to get brighter and brighter and brighter.
Excellent. Dr. Bioteau, Dr. Pérez, Dr. May, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
On that note, that'll wrap up our show for today. I'd like to once again thank our guests for providing their very unique perspectives on the future of community college education. If you like what you saw in today's episode, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have any questions, comments, or criticisms for myself, please feel free to reach out to me via email or Twitter. On that note, once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, every life is a book. Make yours a bestseller. Have a good night.